Now, hundreds of key jobs across the federal government remain vacant even after the president passes his first 100 days in office. According to reports, President Trump personally oversees the hiring process for agency staff by insisting on combing through a binder full of names each week and likes to sign off on each one of them. President Trump is blaming the congressional confirmation process for the lack of staffers. And that is our topic this half hour. Joining us now is Fox 26 senior legal analyst Chris Tritico, Democratic media consultant Mustafa Tamiz, and Republican strategist and former chair of the Harris County GOP, Jared Woodfill.
You know, that's an amazing story, Jose, to see that the President of the United States would be that involved in filling these positions all across the government, because it hampers the government's ability, Mustafa Tamiz, to get its job done. I'm talking about the Justice Department and every governmental agency. These are political appointments, I get it, but for the president to be that involved in filling these appointments, it slows everything down. And if that report says that he is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs behind, blaming it on the Senate confirmation process is really wrong when you're not sending names to the Senate for them to confirm.
Absolutely. And initially when they set up the system, it was really Steve Bannon that was looking through. It was kind of like the president's looking through this, but Steve Bannon's looking for ideological people that support his agenda and the president's agenda, and he doesn't want, you know, career people that do this, that are nonpartisan, to take these positions. And look, I'm okay with having Republicans be in these positions. As you would expect. As you would expect. But the fact that they're trying to say, you know, did you ever say anything against Donald Trump, and do you have this type of a loyalty oath of some type, that just is wrong, and that's just not the way to run the government.
It makes absolutely no sense for the President of the United States to be looking at a binder every day.
He is looking at each position and say, is this position even necessary to be filled? I think it's important. Secondly, it's important that he know who he's actually choosing for these particular positions, because what they do reflects on him. So isn't it great to have a president that is so concerned that he is actually looking through the individuals that will be making policy that reflects on him? I think that's a good thing.
To the exclusion of getting the job done?
Well, getting it done right, though. Think about this. So you just rubber stamp someone you know nothing about, and that person does something, then ultimately you're responsible for it? I don't think it's bad. It's like in your office. If you were going to hire someone or bring someone in, you, the head of the firm, would want to actually speak with them, interview them, know who they are, because they are representing and reflecting you.
My office has 6 employees. I don't have
But
30,
you're an important office.
I don't have millions of employees. Isn't there a vast difference in hiring when you have millions of employees that affects the entire world? Doesn't the president have a duty to hire people below him that he relies on to vet these people?
Look, the president still doesn't understand the job. He is commander-in-chief, and recently he was asked, you know, did he know about the bombing, or did he have something to do? He says, well, I let the generals do that. Well, if you want to let the generals figure out where they're going to bomb, then they should be allowed to also hire people. General Mattis, who has a lot of confidence with, who many of us have a lot of confidence in, shouldn't General Mattis be able to hire staff in his... General Kelly, who runs the Department of Homeland Security with, you know, over 200,000 employees, shouldn't General Kelly be responsible doing that? Why would the leader of the free world, the commander-in-chief of the biggest military in the world, be looking through binders of people to see who's going to be an assistant secretary at a lower level position? That's incompetence. That's what it is.
Isn't that the point? General Mattis can decide to drop the biggest bomb since World War II, but he can't decide who his deputy is?
Well, one, we know Trump chose General Mattis. That's a very, as you would agree, is a very wise and good choice. But I don't see any problem with the president reviewing who's being selected, in that he is ultimately responsible for that choice. I mean, this is how Trump has run his business for decades. He is intimately involved, and I don't see that being a bad thing. If I was president, I would want to know who those individuals were who were making decisions on my behalf, and that are not impacting just the president, but impacting the entire country. He's elected to lead, and in my opinion, that's leadership.
It's also micromanagement, isn't it?
Well, it depends. I mean, we're not talking about millions and millions of people. We are talking about thousands of people. And so to the extent that he runs through their resumes and their backgrounds and seeks advice from others, I don't see that being a problem.
So if that's the case, why is he blaming it on the Senate and not saying, I'm just looking at this?
Well, I think that needs to be broken up into two parts. Yes, there are some things that are being held up in the Senate, but there are a lot of others that he is working through right now, too.
The chairman of the Senate said it's not us. He's not sending us any names.
Look, The fact that President Trump has a problem with the truth and being able to say things that are not completely false all the time is a real issue for us. And that's just not in this issue, but on everything.
Well, let me just go back
I
to
knew
one
I could
last
get
thing.
y'all to argue.
It's Easter Sunday. We were supposed to get along. But let's go back to one last thing. His goal is to reduce the size of government. And to the extent people are not sent up to be confirmed, the size of government becomes smaller, not bigger. Less government is better than more government.
I'm glad you brought that up because he said that it was a ban on hiring that only lasted 40 days. And then he lifted the ban.
It should last a lot longer. So, you know, we don't need the government that governs least governs best.
Except he lifted the ban after 40 days.
But a government that doesn't have leadership is a real problem, and that's what he's done, because by appointing, you know, cabinet secretaries and not giving them staff, you have Rex Tillerson flying around the world doing diplomacy without any support staff.
Is Jared making a point that the president should be looking at these people?
He is. Jared's making a great point.
I didn't say that, but is it?
It's Easter Sunday.
Thank you. Indulge me. Say something nice.
I think Jared is talking about a philosophy of having smaller government, which, you know, one could argue good or bad. But the issue is not that. The issue is bad management. The president's always run, although it seems like a big company, a very small family-run business. He doesn't understand that you do have to delegate in a large environment.
Okay, we got less than 30 seconds. If he truly respects the cabinet secretaries he picked, then why doesn't he respect them enough to let them hire their deputies?
But they're not mutually exclusive. You can choose a cabinet secretary you really respect and work with them to choose those who work underneath them. So let's just say Maddox picked someone who is just totally off the wall. I think Trump should say, look, that person is going to be speaking for me too. I don't want that person there.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. We'll be back in the next hour with two really good topics.